Sure, AI can write a story, but can I give you a story with life experience?
Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today.
There are some Hollywood executives who believe that they can replace a writer like myself with artificial intelligence. And these executives believe that they can go out here and use a computer with machine learning to go out here and write screenplays. Now, I have to say that this whole idea of using AI to write scripts is one that I believe is going to backfire on many of these Hollywood executives, because a script isn't just something that you make out of a computer program. No, a script is something that comes from a person's life experience. Now, I hear a lot of people getting upset about how these writers out here who are striking should not be compensated or given any support because they have produced a lot of terrible content. Well, the reason why there was so much terrible content made wasn't due to the writers. It was really due to the executives who greenlit those projects, and it was due to the fact that these executives wanted to go out here and try to nickel and dime their projects by going out here and hiring the most inexperienced writers that they could find. Now, many of these projects are absolutely terrible for two reasons. One, they go out here and hire young, inexperienced writers. And two, many of these executives actually start meddling in these projects and prevent them from being the best they can be. Now, the reason why you don't want to hire an inexperienced writer is because a young 20-something guy basically doesn't have enough life experience in order to tell a very compelling story. Now, I have been writing ever since I was 9 years old, and I really did not start to get good until I got into my 30s. And the reason why I started to get good in my 30s was because I had a lot more life experience. Now, there's an old saying that a writer can only write what they know, and with a young, inexperienced 20-something writer, they really don't know much about life. And because they don't know much about life, they cannot really go out here and tell you a very compelling story. Because if I were to go back to my old early stories that I wrote in my 20s, like the first ISIS or the early John Haynes stories, they were not very good. And again, they were not very good because I did not have a much life experience as related to what I have now. Now, almost 25 years later, I have a lot more life experience, and because I have a lot more life experience, I can go out here and tell more detailed stories. Moreover, I can go out here and tell a lot more nuanced stories with different layers as related to storytelling, and this is something that I was able to develop because I got a lot of life experience. And again, there's a difference between a writer who has experience and an inexperienced writer. Now, what many of these Hollywood executives don't understand that writing is a craft, and it takes years to cultivate that craft. It is not something that can be done overnight. And this is why AI will absolutely fail as related to writing scripts, because AI cannot give you life experience as related to a story. It cannot give you nuance as related to a story, as related to what went on, as related to a situation in life. And it cannot go out here and give you any sort of human experience. No, that's something you can only get from a writer who has gone out here and lived life and gone out here and can present life to readers. Now, as a writer, when I go out here and I write different kinds of stories, I'm coming from aspects of my life experience. When I go out here and I write up a story like A Recipe for Success, I was drawing from my life experience working at a predominantly black company like the Strive East Harlem Employment Service, and I also was drawing from what I had learned working with other black-owned businesses that I worked at when I was younger. And when I was working on the novel The Temptation of John Haynes, I was drawing from my experience of life as a black man in corporate America, and I was drawing from my experiences as related to intra-racism, as related to race and class, and I was drawing from my experience from racism, and I mixed that in with my experience as being a lifelong comic and sci-fi fan, and I put this all together in a very compelling fantasy story about a black man who is tempted by the devil to be in a quest to compromise his soul. So that was drawing from my life experience, and when I was writing stories like All About Marilyn, about a faded former teen sitcom star, I was drawing from my experience of being long-term unemployed and the struggles of trying to build a life every day and trying to get through life every day. That's what I was drawing from as related to my life experience from that story All About Marilyn. And as I was writing other stories like The Thetas, I was drawing from the experiences that I learned from my family members about women and how women come together. And when I go out here and I was writing stories in the Isis and Esteem series, again, I draw from my own life experiences from black culture and the black community. And when I was writing the novel Spencerella, I was writing about being an introvert and the struggles of being an introvert as related to romance. Yes, the lead character is a black goth, but the whole story was really drawing from my experience as related to being an introvert and dealing with anxiety as related to trying to meet another person. So a writer doesn't just write a story based on what they've been told. They write from what they know, and they add details to their story, not from their life experience, that gives that story all sorts of layers and all sorts of depth and nuance. These are things that you will never get from a AI program, and this is what makes a story unique and distinct. This is what makes a story something that people can go out here and relate to and identify with the characters because they feel a personal connection to the story that they see being presented to them. When a person goes out here and watches a movie, they see people who are just like them, and that's what makes that movie resonate with people. And a human writer is the one who puts the fingers to the keyboard to make that story compelling. It is a human writer that creates that human experience that we see on film. Because movies are not about special effects or fancy stunts. No, the core foundation of a movie is people, and a movie is about people. And this is something that many Hollywood executives just don't understand about writers. They don't understand a writer is an essential foundation to everything as related to making a successful film. Because it all starts with the screenplay and it all starts with the story. And if the story isn't one that can answer the critical question, why should we care? Then there's no incentive for people to go out here and see that movie, no matter how much special effects or CGI you put into that film. If that film does not have a compelling story, then the audience isn't going to care to go out here and watch that movie. That's what Hollywood executives who use AI don't understand. They don't understand artificial intelligence can't give you life experience. They don't understand that artificial intelligence can't really connect people with a story. Yes, artificial intelligence can go out here and replicate and simulate what they think is a story, but a computer cannot go out here and live life. No, a computer only does what it is programmed to do. An artificial intelligence only does what it's programmed to do. It has not gone out here and experienced life in the world. It has not gone out here and experienced life with people. It has not gone out here and experienced the world out here to understand how things work. And that's why an AI program would be no different than getting a material from an inexperienced 20-something writer, which is what many of these writers who produce what they call the social justice or quote-unquote woke material do. Many of those writers write terrible stories because those writers basically are these sheltered middle-class kids who have gone only to college, and they haven't really gone out here and experienced life. So you're going to get a very, very terrible story because they don't know how to fill out details as related to storytelling, nor do they know how to go out here and use things like irony, foreshadowing, symbolism. They don't know how to use these things, and they also don't know how to go out here and create multidimensional characters. No, that type of skill set comes from life experience. Yes, a college can teach you about these things, but the way you learn how to apply them is to go out here and live life. That's something I had to do over the last 30 to 40 years, and that's what the thing that helped me to become a much better writer, in addition to going out here and reading books like Sid Field's screenplay and Robert McKee's story, which helped me to learn about structure and form. But everything else came from my imagination, and and the stuff that I imagine comes a lot drawn from my life experiences. This is, again, something that AI cannot replicate. AI cannot replicate life because it is an artificial form, and the only thing you're going to get as related to story is an artificial, uninspired, bland story, and you're going to get a bland story because you cannot, again, replicate life experience. Automated computer robots cannot go out here and replicate real life. No, real life is lived by real people in real time, and it's those real-time experiences that allow a person to go out here and present you with a story, and present you with a story that allows you to see someone just like you who will inspire you to go out here and do things, go out here and inspire you to go out here and live a life because you've seen this person have a great life and great success. This is what draws people to stories. And again, you cannot go out here and create an artificial story and expect people to relate to it as related to real experience. And this is where Hollywood executives show me how completely disconnected and detached they are from reality, because they believe that they can replace a writer with AI and create a much better story, when in actuality the real problem is that Hollywood wants to go out here and cut corners so they don't have to pay 3 to 5% of $100 million production budget to a screenwriter. What they want to do is go out here and find an inexperienced writer, have them write screenplays and rewrite screenplays so that they don't have to go out here and pay a seasoned, experienced writer like myself with over 25 years of experience. They don't want to pay an experienced writer, but they want to go out here and keep that money as related to the budget for themselves. So what they do is want to go out here and hire what they call these so-called SJW and woke writers, and then they want to go out here and make people believe, oh, they make terrible material. No, that you get terrible executives who hire terrible writers, and what they do is what many bad musicians do, blame their instrument, when in actuality, if you gave a seasoned musician that same instrument, they would go out here and create great music because they have the experience and the knowledge to go out here and craft great music with that same instrument, and they know how to use that instrument. And again, that's the value of having a seasoned writer who understands the overall paradigm of stories. They understand things like answering those 3 critical questions: who is the main character, what do they want, and why should we care? And they try to answer those questions before a single budget is approved, because they know in the pitch the first 10 pages of a movie and screenplay are the most important, and they know that the first 10 pages of a pilot TV show are the most important. These individuals, again, have the craft and the skill set to understand their job is to answer those 3 questions in less than 3 to 5 minutes. Again, that's the difference between a seasoned writer and an inexperienced one who will sit there and try to make a show go 3 or 4 episodes before you figure out what it's about, like many of the SJW or what they call woke shows, or they try to cram it with identity politics to overcompensate for their lack of overall story. This is what inexperienced writers go out here and do, but you have people wanting to demonize writers and say that, oh, we don't need writers, we can use AI. No, there's no substitute for a good writer, because a good writer is going to give you a compelling story because they can draw from different experiences in their lives. They can go out here and do research on different lifestyles, like I did with the Spencerella trilogy, where I watched over about 10 to 15,000 hours of goth videos and listened to people from the goth subculture. Oh, and you have people like me, again, who go out here and do that research to make sure that that story is authentic. And from the feedback I get from people who read the books in the Spencerella trilogy, like Spellbound, Legendary Mad Matilda, and Spencerella, actual goths, they tell me that the story is on point. And this is where a real writer comes in, because a real writer can go out here and get real feedback from real people, and a real writer can go out here and listen to people and then also, as they're getting feedback, also go out here and present their side of things. And again, from those discussions, you can get perspective on things as related to story that AI won't give you, because again, AI only puts out what you put in, and because AI only puts out what you put in, you're not going to get the same kind of story you would get from a seasoned writer. And that's what Hollywood executives don't really understand about writers. They want to sit down there and demonize writers and say that they don't need writers, but you do need writers, and if you want to write compelling stories, because if you want to relate to an audience, they need to see life coming to life on screen, and the only way to see life coming to life on screen is when you have a writer with life experience, a writer who has been out in the world, a writer who has gone out here and can give you experiences that show you people, and again, a writer who can go out here and connect with the audience with their words to create pictures that make a story that make you care. And that's where Hollywood executives really have it all wrong as related to writers. They sit there and think a writer can be replaced with AI, but a computer cannot experience life. Moreover, a computer cannot go out here and buy product. That's where they have it all wrong. Whereas they're thinking about saving dollars, it doesn't make sense, because you pay a writer to go out here and make stories, and it's the stories that they make that allow them to go make a living and be able to go out here and do things like pay their bills. And again, you can't make money unless you spend money. And with AI, all you're going to do is go out here and create products that make you go broke, because if there's nobody there to go out here and buy the products, if nobody has any money, then how can they go out here and pay for your movies? Critical question I would like to ask many of those Hollywood executives: if you don't pay writers, then who is going to go out here and buy your movies? Who's going to go out here and go buy movie tickets? Who's going to go out here and watch your TV shows? An AI program made by a computer doesn't have an audience that can go out here and want to participate in going out here and enjoying the content, because in order to make quality content, you have to make content that's made for people by people. And again, a writer is an essential part of making a compelling film or TV show, and you can't sit there and blame the writers when you went out here and hired the most inexperienced people. If you hire an inexperienced writer, you're going to get a terrible story, because they don't know anything, and you can only write what you know. And if you know absolutely nothing, then you're going to get an empty story that's just filled with shallow characters who are just an identity, or they're just sporting, or an identity politics representation. They're going to be all flash, no substance, have no story, but you can't really get there and get upset about the writers because you hired those writers, and you hired those writers because you didn't want to hire a good writer. Again, you wanted to save dollars, and it didn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense to sit there and say AI can replace a writer, because a AI program, while it may be a program, it's just not as intelligent as a human writer, because a human writer can give you one thing an AI program will never give you, and that's life experience. Now, if you want to pick up my 2 screenplay books, All About Marilyn and All About Nikki, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct fantasy fiction, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, and my goth novels in the Spencerella trilogy, and my vampire novel, Eternal Night, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Smashware's The iBookstore and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos about writing, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Godbreaker. The man who rules the world takes on the Asgardian god of thunder in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Godbreaker in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.